Mancias. I am the one of the HIV outreach coordinators here at Harris County Public Health.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer some questions about the program and HIV in general.
Thank you for
Let's start with the first question. How long have you been working in the field?
Here at Harris County Public Health, I've actually only been working since September, but my background in HIV actually extends to about 2016. So this will be about my 5th year working with HIV or working among, HIV research and HIV outreach. I have a background in substance use among minority groups, which also, I have that background has been about 20 years. So I've been around, people of low income or at-risk populations, like HIV for about 20 years.
Wow, that's great. So what attracted you to your current role?
Honestly, to my current role is my background in HIV, working with HIV, but also given that HIV, from all my research and all the work that I've done, HIV and other, illnesses sort of target or are sort of, affect minorities such as myself, Latinos, Latinx, members of the Latinx community, and Black African American communities. So given that I'm of this community and it's, personally I have never been affected by it, but knowing people who have that are close to me makes me want to continue some of this work to try to help those that need it.
Great. Yeah, I think a lot of people have some sort of relationship with the virus, whether it's someone they love or someone they know, or it's the community they belong to. So speaking about communities, why do you think communities of color have greater numbers of HIV?
Honestly, from personal experience, I believe it has a lot to do with stigma, first and foremost. I guess even further than that, culture. I can only speak for Latino culture that I've grown up in. Obviously, I can't speak for Black African American culture, but for Latino, Latinx communities or culture, that's where stigma comes in. The stigmatizing of anything.
Right.
I mean, growing up, in the Latinx community, predominantly Mexican, predominantly Catholic.
Yeah.
Those two things are very central to Latinx communities, and the stigma is always there. Tattoos, your clothing, hairstyles, beards are very, stigmatized, depending on what their background is. So I think this whole idea of not so much, it's still stigmatizing even across nationalities and cultures. I mean, homosexuality,
Right.
Lesbianism, being LGBTQ, that's still stigmatized. So add that with the culture and the stigma that comes with it that already exists in the culture, and it's, for lack of a better term, it's a perfect storm of just problems. And people who are members of the LGBTQ community, who are also Latinx and maybe also African American, have this fear of, well, if I get tested for HIV, or if I have HIV and I get tested and I confirm it, my family will disown me. I've heard this from people, from clients, from friends. My parents will disown me. My culture will disown me. We're not supposed to do this. This isn't supposed to happen to us. All that sort of stigma is there, and I think that is at its core the issue. Is this sort of we've held on to this stigma, as a part of component of our culture, and it's causing more problems than it's actually helping.
That's you hit it on the head. I mean, I think that in our culture, we'd rather live in like a world of not knowing what's going on instead of actually dealing with problems, especially when it comes to sexual health education and STIs. I mean, yeah, because I mean, coming from a religious background, you don't talk about sex, or you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. So you're not really given the tools to know exactly like how to protect yourself. So yeah, those are some of the barriers we have in our community. So what would you say to someone who just tested positive for HIV?
Right off the bat, I like to tell them, hey, it's not a death sentence anymore. Reassure them that you can live a healthy life.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little tough, but it's not like it was back in the 80s.
Right.
It's not, the fear is still there. Yes. I mean, there's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I hear from people, I have members of of my, closest friends who are HIV positive, and, it, it's telling like how exhausting it is. It can be.
Right.
It's it can be done. So I tell them, hey, obviously I'm in a better position because of where I work and where have worked to
Right.
give them information like, hey man, it's not a death sentence. Look, there's all these agencies that are willing to help,
Right.
that have, if you're worried about costs, they have grants.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for, I work now with Harris County Public Health, and we work with Legacy, we work with Avenue 360, we work with Montrose Center, we work with all these agencies. Yeah, we work with everybody. I there's so many of them that I can't even name off the top of my head.
Right.
And I could give them out a shout out if I had like a sheet in front of me, but there's all these agencies. And then from where I came from with the University of Houston, we had Gilead. Gilead makes a prep pill.
Mm-hmm.
They make HIV medication. So I wish I knew them all by heart. But there's all these agencies that want to help,
Right.
and it's just telling them like, look, it'll be tough. That's not, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
Mm-hmm.
You're to get some blood work. I hate needles, so I can only assume someone else hates needles too.
Same.
You're gonna get tested. You're gonna get tested and retested and tested again. But do you feel your life is worth it? I guess would be my next comment to them, or my next question is like, if your life is worth it, if you feel your life is worth it, it can be done. And 10 years down the line, we could still be having this conversation.
Right. That's a good point you bring up, because I think there's a lot of issues wrapped around self-esteem and sexual health, and not taking care of your own body, and not honoring your health. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, those are good points. I think those are some of the things we need to tackle in our department, as far as the things we should communicate to the public, because I think that people in their minds still have this idea that HIV is a death sentence. So still a lot of work to be done, but I think that we just got to keep putting out the message that it's not, and that it's evolved from the 80s and 90s. And so now it's treatable. You can live a healthy, long life. And there's even pills like PrEP to prevent HIV. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to add to the
No,
conversation?
I mean, it's, I hope, for someone watching this, I hope that, um, yes, there is stigma. I guess going back to our first component, yes, there is stigma, but there's more people that want to help,
Right.
and I can't stress that enough to clients or potential clients. You know, Harris County Public Health, my department's awesome. I think they're awesome. They want to help. We're eager to help. Give us a call if you just want to chat. If you just need information, we're willing to give that information out.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Albert, thanks so much for your time,
Thank you.
and I will see you soon.